What is going on, baseball fans? Welcome to episode 25 of Baseball as Intended, the podcast where me, your host, Jejo, is going to be talking with this guy, John, about baseball as it was intended. How's it going, John?
I am well, Yayo. I hope this finds you well. Life is good. I'm having a great weekend. I'm in a great mood.
Wow, you look like you play golf today.
I did.
Wow, okay, never mind. I don't look like I
Played
play golf.
played well. You did not play golf.
Yeah,
I invited you.
we're not going to talk about that. There was some boxing this weekend. We got to watch a little bit of a brawl.
Great
Good
fight.
fight. Yep, great fight. Good to have a good fight in boxing, especially after the Jose Ramirez Tim Anderson thing. It got the juices flowing
Yeah,
again.
it was
So,
like that was like the undercard.
yeah, yeah. So that was good. We got a lot to talk about. Football is back. Preseason is out there. We got some football scores in baseball. The Atlanta Braves beat the New York Mets 21-3. So football form already. You're why? Uh, don't be mad. Don't be mad. Just you
not
said
mad.
you said last week
I'm not mad.
that the Mets season was over. Now we didn't think that they were going to be in last place, but
I said that last month, Yayo.
you're kind of upset. I get it.
I'm not upset.
You're
Okay.
not upset. Well, football
Top
score
10
though.
top 10 farm team in baseball.
Yeah, you did get a lot of pieces. You did get a lot of pieces back in a lot of the trades. So you got to pay a lot of guys. But let's go a little bit of around the league. Not much has changed as far as standings wise, right? Like from last episode, we got the Yankees in Boston again. Flip flop. The Yankees lost against Sandy Saturday. Complete game. One. I think he allowed one. I think the final score was 3-1 by Sandy. So Sandy Alcantara with the Marlins, kind of back in Cy Young form, and then they lost today after being up 7-3 in the ninth, and they blew it. So Yankees are in last place, Boston in fourth. Another change that we've seen was, like I mentioned, the Mets are now in last place. Washington overachieving with 53 and 66 record, and nothing else has changed as far as standings, right? So yeah, but the Yankees loss, it just feels like, when you're facing Sandy Alcantara, you're kind of like, okay, it's going to be a tough game. Today, the Yankees had Garrett Cole going against a young Eury Perez, and they had a 5-6 run lead. The whole game, It was 6-1 at one point, and you end up blowing it in the ninth. Everyone started pointing finger. It always points at Aaron Boone. Is the Yankee season over? Like, as you said, the Mets season was over last week. Obviously, they sold. They got everybody out. The Yankees didn't
obvious.
do
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
They knew it, right? The Yankees are not really trade. They didn't really trade much. They didn't do much. They got Judge back. But is the Yankee season over? Right now, they're 12 and a half back of Baltimore.
No, that's done.
So
Yeah,
that's obviously
done.
the division is not,
And
but
they're 5 back.
they're 5 back of that third wild card, which is in Toronto.
So it feels really late in the year to me for some reason. I know it's not. We have a month and a half left, and a lot can happen. This felt like a little bit of a real early nail in the coffin for the Yankees, because these are the losses that hurt. You can take, like you said, you made a great point. You can take that Sandy Alcantara through a complete game shutout against you. That's fine. Couple starts ago, he went 8. I think he gave up 1 run or 0 runs. He hasn't had that kind of year, but he can go, and the Yankees lineup is prone to getting shut down once in a while. You can take that, and it was setting up for, hey, good bounce back win for the Yankees against a very good Marlins team this year. And to give up, it was 5 in the ninth, I think, and get walked off. Now you really have to respond. Like, this is going to be the closest thing to a must win for the Yankees. And they've got a tough stretch coming up. Yeah, go ahead. Who are they playing?
I was gonna say they're going to Atlanta now, which is still the hottest team. Aside from the Dodgers. The Dodgers are the hottest team. They've won 8 in a row, 9 of the last 10. But going to Atlanta, I mean, your team just play Atlanta, so we know what they're capable of. They got a couple of MOB or MVP front runners, which we're going to talk about in a little bit. Yep. Matt Olson and Acuna, but that's a tough place to go in and win and try to kind of get out of a little bit of a slump that you're at. Like, when you want to get out of slump, you want to face teams like Oakland and Detroit and Colorado, right? You don't want to go to Atlanta to try to get out of that funk. So it's
So,
gonna be
so that's what
interesting.
I would say. I would say their season is not over because if you manage to go down to Atlanta and win 2 out of 3, or dream scenario if you're a Yankee fan, sweep them, what a momentum swing. But anything less than winning that series in Atlanta, I think it is over. And I don't think they recover because it's been a lot of the same for the Yankees. This has been kind of their year. This is where they've been in the standings. They really have never, we've talked about a lot of teams that made, moves and started not necessarily trade deadline moves, but got hot, started playing better. The Yankees have never really done that. I think they're in a weird spot. And I think they go to Atlanta. I think they either lose 2 out of 3 or they get swept and it's over. And I don't think we see Aaron Boone back next year.
Which it feels like everyone's is waiting for that. They've been waiting for it, but I don't
What
know.
do you think? You think he comes back?
I mean, I feel like it kind of everything started like their downward spark started again when Aaron Boone just lost it. The strike. There were memes all over of him just it means the whole thing, and it was
Hilarious.
just like great. And he's out there just fighting for his players, but at some point it feels like it's just too much. Like it's just like it's not working,
The
and
attention's on him
yeah,
a lot more than I think it should be if you're a major league manager.
yeah, he has his show, weekly episode with John Boy, where they go to
Yep.
John Boy's episode. They start asking questions. We've seen him get kind of rattled there with the very straightforward questions that we as fans would ask, and he doesn't really like them. But my thing is, if the Yankee season is done, does that mean that the Red Sox season is not done? Because I said last week that I thought they were, and I think, I mean, again, there's only 3 back of that third wild card, but you have Seattle and Toronto, 2 very good teams. Seattle's playing very good baseball. I don't think Houston and Tampa are going anywhere. So you still got to climb 2 spots to get there. But I don't know. They are going to Washington, so maybe they can get on a little hot streak. Chris Sale was back. He kind of looked decent. He's fired up.
Chris Sale,
But
man.
what a listen, you're a Mets fan, so you know all about like wasting money in big contracts. Oh my god. We did get a World Series. Red Sox did get a World Series with Chris Sale, getting that last out in LA,
Right.
but oh my god. What he was on
Tough.
he
He's
was
been baggage for a long time.
he was well on his way for a Hall of Fame, first ballot Hall of Fame career. Now
Yes.
it's like, yeah, he's
He
still
used
young.
to have
He
the,
still
the
got
Randy
somebody.
Johnson comparisons. I mean, I don't think anyone thought he was ever there, but he used to get those comparisons. How do you feel about the Red Sox? I mean, you've been so kind of down on them. I don't mean that in a negative way. I think you've been realistic about the Red Sox this whole year. Now you found yourself mid-August, 3 games back. Do you believe, or do you just kind of tune in and hope for the best?
I think so. So I've been when you say realistic, I still think they overachieved this year. I wasn't expecting much. Now we knew that this was going to be the best division in baseball. We didn't think it was going to be
Right.
this competitive 1 through 5. So I think that's a little bit of a difference. I thought that they might finish 4th, maybe 5th in the division, which is where they've been. But they are 6 games over 500. So it's kind of like there's hope. There's hope, but I just don't know if they have the team compared to the others as well, right? So I don't know. I think it's one of those things where I hope they make it. They're gonna keep trying. They got some professional players there. Justin Turner is having a very good year. They still got some nice pieces there. I just don't know if it's enough for them to sneak in. If they sneak in, watch out because anything can
Amazing.
happen. And they got
Yeah.
it would be a great story, not just because I'm a Red Sox fan, but just because nobody saw it coming. I mean, they've been 4th and 5th the entire year, and we're 120 games in. So it would be kind of like out of nowhere.
Well, they've been staying afloat, and then kind of now starting to scratch and claw for the big wins. I think an interesting point, and we touched on this kind of at the beginning of the year. Who knows what the scheduling difference this year has, like what impact that's had on a division like the East? Because if they were playing each other a lot more, sure, they could technically split all those games, but more likely than not, someone's beaten up on someone else, and that division may not be looking
close,
exactly the way it is. So that could, it could hurt some teams. Maybe some teams would have beaten up on the Yankees more, maybe not. or the Red Sox, however it may be. So it's a question that we'll never really know the answer to, but you got to think that it's had some sort of impact.
Yeah, I think the changes in the schedule has allowed it for it to be for it remain to be this close this late in the year, right?
Yeah.
Nah, and AL Central, not much. Like I mentioned, not much change there. Angels are under 500 now with a 59-60 record. Why?
Shohei doesn't even want to pitch anymore.
He's done. He's done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He said he didn't want to make his next start. I love Shohei. I'm not even bashing him. He said he has fatigue, no injury. They're waving the white flag.
I mean-
Literally, 2 weeks after the trade deadline, they waving the white flag with Shohei.
So, 2 weeks after the trade deadline, which they lost like the first 6 or 7 games, if you're Shohei, you know what's coming, right? You're waiting for that 10-year, $500 million contract. You can't get hurt. Number one, you basically have the AL MVP wrapped, like you've won it. You're having one of the most incredible seasons again in the history of baseball. So at this point, it's like you just got to be a little bit careful. I don't
decision.
think business decision, and I feel like if the Angels would have known this was gonna happen, then they maybe would have traded him. But it's like we kept you, and now you don't even want to play. It's like,
and he is going out there,
like,
right,
he's gonna
and
be fine,
hitting, yeah. But I wanted to make a point here, yeah.
Oh boy,
Because I looked at the standings a lot today. Cincinnati in the NL wild card, Cincinnati and Arizona are both 2-8 in their last 10. Cincinnati made no moves at the trade deadline. We talked about that. Arizona, they did a little bit, but they're still struggling. The way the standings are right now, and this is the first time I've thought this, I think this is exactly how they end. Now, I don't know the exact order, but as far as the teams that are in right now, I think are the teams that are in at the end of the year.
so you got NL wildcard, you got Philly, San Francisco, and Miami. And you got the Cubs,
Yes.
Cincinnati, Arizona, and San Diego on the outside.
Right, and I
looking
don't
in.
know how that ends on the outside looking in. I think Miami hangs on to that. I think San Francisco hangs on to that. Philly, I think those teams are in. Same thing with the American League. Seattle got really hot. They've clawed their way to within 1.5 games of the wild card. That's the one that's maybe a little scary, but Toronto's been kind of consistent as well. I think it's the same thing. I think it's Tampa Bay, Houston, Toronto. I think literally as of now, August 13th, those teams that are in, I think will all be in at the end of the season.
And I think that's very interesting because so the Marlins, we talked about their series against the Yankees. That's how big those wins were, right? Because they are half a game in front of Chicago. If they would have lost those 2 games, obviously Sandy, you kind of expected them to win it. But if not, if they would have lost today, they would be one or half a game back, right? So that's a difference. That's how big of a win that is. My thing with the Marlins, I think this week it can be make or break, and not make or break as in like, oh my God, they're done next week. But they're playing Houston, and then they're going to Dodgers. So Houston is coming to town, and then you're flying cross country to face the hottest team in baseball, which is the Dodgers. So after that, I think it's going to be very interesting. After the Dodgers, they're facing the Padres. So San Diego, which is still they can work their way up by winning that series, sweeping them, whatever. So I think what we see from the Marlins in the next week, we can have, and it may sound obvious because it's like, well, in another week there's going to be less games left.
They go 2-8.
Yeah, but this is because they're facing teams that you're not. You know how we say you're beating the teams that you're supposed to beat. Well, if they beat the teams that they're not supposed to beat in Houston, the better team, right? And they're facing Verlander, Christian Javier, and Framber. I think so. It's gonna be a tough one. Yeah. And then they're going to LA. You're not supposed to beat LA. So if you somehow manage to split or win those series, you're in a great situation because that's probably the easiest or the toughest part of the schedule. Then you got San Diego. Then you got Washington. And you can kind of like make, breathe a little bit when facing those teams and kind of work your way back up.
So it's very interesting you say that because that's actually, and I know you always ask at the end what you're looking forward to. I'm looking forward to the Astros series for the Marlins. But to me, the Yankee series was a little bit of a test for the Marlins. That's how I saw it. I know the Yankees are not as good as these teams that they're going to go play. but the Marlins have been in it all year, and we're kind of like, they're a good team, they're a good team, they're a good team. This was a series with a lot of eyes on them. Sandy came out and shoved, and then the offense picked them up in a, very clutch way in the other game. And that's when I was just like, okay, at some point I have to, you can be wrong, but at some point you have to make a decision and say, okay, do I really think they're for real? Do I think they can hang with these big teams? For me, that solidified it with the Yankees, because the Yankees are playing for something. Whether we think they're in a bad spot right now, and it's always the Yankees, the name carries something. Some people disagree with that, but I think they kind of passed that test. Like you said, they don't necessarily need to go out and dominate these teams. If they can split on the road trip, I think they're in good shape. Even if they end up half a game out of the wild card at the end of it, whatever. But I think they will. I think they're going to do well.
And it's funny you mentioned a lot of eyes on them, because they played the Yankees in Miami, but it was an away game for them. It was a road game for them, because that was the highest attendance that they've had in I don't know how many years, and it was 75% Yankees. But it was kind of like that play of an atmosphere. Like when we get to the playoffs and we talk about like this team has been playing playoff atmosphere for the last few weeks. Maybe Atlanta won't have that because they're cruising, right? But these teams, games like this weekend, Miami and Yankees, it feels like that. So it's going to be very interesting. If you're half a game up by the end of this tough part of the schedule, it's a win. You probably take it if you're the Marlins.
Even if you're half a game back, I think, you probably still feel good.
Yeah. But the Dodgers, again, they're hot. That's gonna be very interesting. I still can't believe the Dodgers are 8.5 games in front of the San Francisco Giants of that division. Like
that happened like that, and we didn't even notice. I mean, we noticed, but
no,
not really.
I didn't notice. I was like, wow. Like I knew Arizona was struggling and they were playing good. San Francisco was kind of, all of a sudden they're like, all right, we're gone.
Yeah.
But somebody
Dodgers
else
are gonna Dodger.
Oh, I'm ready for this transition. They're gone. You know who else was gone? Wander Franco was gone from the lineup in Tampa today. Well, but they okay. They did say Kevin Cash I think said that it was just a regular day off or whatever, but there's a lot of news coming out of Tampa in this Wander Franco situation, and there's a lot of misinformation. This is when everybody knows everybody knows somebody within the whole situation, but we don't, right? So we're just gonna say what we've seen. He's basically being accused of like dating a 14-year-old in the Dominican Republic, and these are serious accusations, right? And I think it can go one or two ways. It's true or it's not true, right? He's getting blackmailed.
Great analysis.
That's
Great
it.
Analysis.
But I think that's when what happens then. If it's true, is he getting suspended? What does that mean for Wander Franco, the future, the Rays? There's a lot of things that can affect, obviously, this. I don't know. Obviously, this is in a different country. I think that might have something to do. Again, we're just talking kind of like I have no idea what's happening. If it's fake or he's just getting blackmailed and she's older, then maybe this is something that we'll look back and it's like, wow, that was crazy to imagine what could have been, right? He signed a long-term deal to stay in Tampa. Basically, not his entire career because he's young, but like a 10, 13-year deal, whatever it was.
Having a great year.
He had an insane walk-off a couple nights ago, a walk-off home run.
Yep.
But again, there's a lot of information and misinformation that we're getting. But what are your thoughts on this? What do you think is going to happen? How does this play out? If you had to guess, I guess, or...
So I took a deep dive.
You went into the
Instagram.
Oh,
yeah. I went down the rabbit hole. So this is obviously all speculation, but I do want to give because we don't do this often. This is kind of like an off the field issue, you would say. And we don't really talk about that too much, except this has a big impact on, the Rays, playoff baseball, all that, one of the young stars of the game. So I guess the accusations are, like you said, one, she's being accused of having some sort of relationship with a 14-year-old, which is just disgusting. The other side, what people say, the other possibility is one, that she's not 14 at all to begin with. Some people are saying, there's pictures of her driving, she has a kid, which I know there's a lot of biology and all that, whatever. But a lot of people are saying either she wasn't, or, and this is kind of the gray area, which is weird, that she was, and the parents gave their blessing, which is just horrific. But then that he was getting blackmailed for money and all that. So very weird situation. To answer your question, the way it goes, I think the only way that he gets suspended for this really is if there's some sort of legal involvement, if the police get involved. I think right now they're going to do exactly what Kevin Cash did. Ignore that there's a rumor. When they address it, they'll call it a rumor. They'll say that Wander denies everything, yada, 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 and nothing will happen. If there's some sort of legal investigation, I think it gets obviously really nasty. If they find anything, I think he's probably out of the game. Like, I mean, we remember Felipe Vasquez for the Pirates years ago, and
Felipe
that
Rivera.
guy's sitting in a prison right now. Or Rivera, yeah.
Well, he changed his last names, yeah.
Yeah, he's sitting in prison. So, my gut says, because it seems like a messy drama situation, and then you throw in, potential extortion for money. I don't think anything comes of this. That's just my gut right now. Everything we've seen also, if you look, it hasn't been any of the big name reporters kind of running with the story, probably because they don't know a lot, either. But right now it's really been kind of Twitter rumors and Instagram accounts accusing him of this. I don't know if he did it or not, but I don't think anything's really going to come of it.
And
What do you think?
I think one of the things is that, yeah, I agree that legal investigation, I think that's what MLB kind of waits, but they also have their own legal teams, and they're in their investigations, so kind of like a similar to the Trevor Bauer thing, right? And Trevor Bauer was found not guilty, and he was suspended, and he had to go play in Asia, Japan, wherever he is at. So I don't think he's gonna get to that level. Obviously, Wonder being younger, no prior things. I think that in Trevor Bauer's case, I don't think he helped his own case in the previous few years with his actions.
Not at all.
But I think, yeah, it could be, and it could be one of those things where he's extortion, and they could be like, "Here's some money, we're done with this," or I don't know. I don't know. I know there was a picture of the girl with his necklace with the 5. It's just one of those things where I don't like to talk about if I don't have all the information, especially because it's something very serious, where it's like a 14-year-old, and if the family approved it, and you know what, it happens a lot, where it's like, especially in these poor countries, where it's like, he's a major leaguer. It sucks, but it happens, but it's still not right. And I don't think MLB will go with that either, if it's actually true. So
it could be something that in the moment, when they're in it, it seems more normal, even though it's not. I don't think it is, but family, friends, and, like you said, he's a major leaguer. They've known him forever. I mean, it makes me uncomfortable to talk about, but yeah, maybe something seemed normal at the time. I don't know that passes MLB's smell test. I don't think they go, "Oh, okay, that's just how you do it." But
yeah,
social media is very weird. Like you said, the picture with the chain, you look at it and you go, "Man, that looks really bad." Or you could look at it and say, "This is a family friend that he let borrow the chain." There's no way of knowing. There's really not, and social media can be dangerous like that. So I'll reserve judgment, but my gut with as far how I think it plays out, I don't think too much comes of it. I really don't. Maybe that's naive of me, but I don't.
Maybe we also have to wait for, like you mentioned, the big reporters like the Jeff Hassans and of the world to come up with like the real.
The news just broke.
Yeah, like today, like right now is Sunday night, and this broke Sunday afternoon, a few hours ago.
Yeah.
Again, I don't know if he was actually planned to have a day off with Tampa, or it was just crazy coincidence.
He wasn't.
But
he wasn't.
But he didn't play. So yeah, we'll see what happens with this. We'll keep an eye out and kind of, because I think like we mentioned, it can have big implications on the playoffs, and obviously the Rays are not in first place anymore, but they need them if they want to take it all the way. So that's gonna be very interesting, and I think, at least for the NL MVP race, you're going to need all these guys. Rays need Wonder, and we have a little bit of conversation about the NL race because we've always talked about Acuna. He's the guy. He's leading the league in everything, right? And he's exciting, and the Braves are still rolling. But a couple of things have happened in the last couple of weeks. Number one, Matt Olson, his own teammate, is now leading the league in home runs, 42. He's on pace for like 60 home runs, which is crazy. He has over 100 RBIs as well, right?
Leading the league in RBIs
in RBIs as well. Ronald Acuna is still hitting 330 plus, still 50 home runs. And I saw a little bit of a side bet. I don't know if you saw this. And I meant to send it to you. I never did. Ronald Acuna and his brother has a little side bet of $5,000 to whoever steals the most bases. Ronald has like 50, 54, and I think his brother had like 40 something. So he's not gonna stop stealing bases. He's going for that. That's 70 hilarious. Plus. But I like that friendly or brotherly competition there. We also have Mookie out there with a 5.6 WAR this year, 286 average, 30 home runs, or 31 with 78 runs batted in. But the other guy is Freddie Freeman, former Atlanta Brave.
Yep.
342 batting average, 20. This guy is an amazing hitter.
Doesn't
like
stop.
It's crazy. He's 33 years old. It feels like I feel like when you look at him and we've seen him for so long, I thought he was closer to 40, but no. He's still got a few years left there. And we can't leave out when I'm looking at the leaders in WAR in baseball reference. We got Ha-Seong Kim, third in baseball.
Leave him out. Leave him out.
He's 5.8 WAR.
No, he's not. That's not a real thing.
It says it right
Leave
there.
Him out.
It says
Is
it
that
right
why
there.
You're wearing a Pirates hat?
He's from San Diego.
Oh, he was. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, leave him out. He's not even in my brain. He's not even in my brain.
286 batting average, 15 home runs, 27 stolen bases, and apparently the best defender in baseball. So I just wanted to throw that out there because I mentioned it in our pre-production meeting, and you did not like it. And you hate
not to
WAR.
bring it up. I told you not to bring it up.
You hate WAR now. Like, you just hate the WAR. But anyways, Ronald, Mookie, Freddie, Olsen, rank them. Talk to me about the NL MVP race.
I can't even think right now.
They
I'm
bother
so
you,
upset with these
that
stats. Yeah, it bothers me so much.
It's okay.
Like I start to come around to the advanced stats, and then something like that gets thrown in there, and I'm like, you can't do that to me. Like, I'm starting to believe. I'm starting to. I think.
Regroup.
Dude, I'm rattled. I'm rattled. I've been rattled since you mentioned that. So, I think I look at all their stats. Freeman, like you said, he's doing it again. He's got the average, a little bit less power, right, than maybe some of the other guys. You look at Acuna. He has power. He's also leading the league in stolen bases, which we said was he was going to have one of those years where he was just going to keep going, and he is. The MVP for me starts being around this time. Who's making the buzz? Who's generating that buzz? And it seems to be Matt Olson. Every conversation lately is about Matt Olson, and it starts with, wow, he's playing really well, to, wow, he's got more home runs than Ohtani. Wow, he's leading the league. He's leading the league in home runs. He's leading the league in RBIs. I think Acuna in this case, and a lot of this is just perception, because I think you really can make an argument for all three of those guys, and maybe even further than that. Like you mentioned Mookie and things like that. Yeah, no. I walked right into it. I said, yeah, just to agree, and you threw that name. Nothing against Kim, sorry. But I think Acuna, to me, it's between Acuna and Olsen, the two Braves. I think Acuna might fall victim a little bit to his consistency, which is strange because he was a little inconsistent before this year. But he's been so solid this year. He's had such a good year. We talked earlier in the year and we said it's his to lose unless someone comes and takes it. And I think Olsen is doing that. I think Olsen's generating the buzz. He's got the real sexy numbers. He's got the home runs and the RBIs. And he's hitting a very respectable 270. He's leading the league in slugging as well. If he keeps this up a little bit, gets over 55 home runs, somewhere like that. What's he on pace for? Probably 60?
60.
Yeah, if he can stay close to that, get over 55 home runs, I think he takes it. And, I mean, he's making the Braves look like geniuses again. We said, how could you let Freddie go? And there was all that drama with what did they offer him, what did they not? They got Olsen for 8 years, 160, I believe.
It was a lot cheaper than Freddie. Yeah.
Yeah, 8 years, I think 168. And, he's delivering.
I just think, like, Ronald Acuna hasn't slowed down, though. Like, I get what you're saying. Like,
I agree.
Like, the home runs and RBIs from Olsen. Acuna obviously won't have the RBIs there because he's their leadoff guy, right? He doesn't have the RBI, opportunities like Matt Olson. But the reason why Matt Olson has a lot of RBIs is also because of Ronald Acuna getting on base 40% of the time. Yeah, and stealing. He's always in scoring position. So I think Ron Acuna hasn't slowed down. I think you mentioned the buzz, and I think the buzz started more with Freddie Freeman because the Dodgers started getting hot. Freddie Freeman got hot aside from Mookie having an insane year. You got Freddie Freeman hitting 342, which is only like 20 something points away from Luis Arias all of a sudden. And it's like, wait, he can even win the batting title. And the Braves do have a 4-game lead on the Dodgers win wise on the win column. But there's still plenty of baseball left. I think when you're 1-1A, 1B, I don't think the record will mean much at the end. I still think I'm still giving it to Acuna. I still think he's on pace for 30. He's probably like closer to 40 home runs. But let's say he finishes with 35 home runs, 65 stolen bases, and a 333 batting average. He's hitting 336 right now. His defense doesn't help him a whole lot, but he's still, I mean, right now he has a 6 WAR season, which you hate, but they're going to look at that, right? And Matt also has a 4.8 WAR season. First baseman probably doesn't help him a whole lot either.
Right.
But I don't know. It's crazy that both teams have 2 legitimate candidates for it. When we look at the AL, it's Shohei Ohtani and then everybody else. And the NL, we have 4 guys that if you look at the stats, it's like those are MVP numbers. And they're 2 on each team. It's their stack. It's crazy. I can't wait for the Braves-Dodgers series in the NLCS.
You're putting them in there. Yeah. I don't know. I think the votes, if things were to end today, would be very split, which I think is interesting because you get a lot of MVP races where when it comes down to it, you say, yeah, this guy had a good year, but this is the MVP.
Yeah.
I don't know that if it were right now, I don't know if that's the case. I think a lot of guys are splitting votes, between those 2-3 players. And it'd be interesting to see how it pans out. Whoever gets it, as it stands now, would be very deserving. But for an MVP race, there is still time for that to get solidified, right? Acuna goes out and has a sick month and a half, and you could say, well, it was his all along. If Olsen keeps going, in my opinion, I would say, yeah, he started building and he never stopped. So it's interesting.
It's one of those, if you look back in 2017 when you had the Bellinger-Yelich race for the MVP, it came down to the last week. And Bellinger just wanted that last week. He got hot, Yelich sitting, and it literally that's what made the difference. I feel like they were literally tied going into the last week, and Bellinger had a better week, which is crazy. That was a fun one, and this might be one of those where it's like, but it's just crazier because they're on the same team as well. So right, I don't think Olsen is there. Right. I still think it's Acuna, Freeman. Yeah, Mookie and Olsen on that bottom tier a little bit, but they're all obviously getting votes, obviously having a great season.
They all have something. Freeman's got, you compare Freeman and Olsen, they're both first basemen, and Freeman's got the sick average and just on-base machine. Olsen brings the power. Acuna adds a different, playing a premier position and doing everything he's doing. It's very interesting.
Yeah. All right. We'll keep an eye on that. But we have one more topic. It's start bench cut. And there was some news that it didn't really break the internet because it wasn't as big because there's still a few years left, but it's got us thinking, right? There's the Milwaukee Brewers are basically threatening to leave Milwaukee if they don't get $290 million from hardworking taxpayers' money to improve their American Family Field.
We see whose side you're on.
But, they're saying that if we don't get this money for these upgrades, we're going to leave. And it always comes up to okay, so where would they go, right? We know that Oakland is moving to Vegas. The A's are moving to Vegas. That's going to be in 2027, I believe. We're a couple years away from that. But we always have these conversations of where would they go? And we've seen the London series, and it's that wouldn't really work because of the traveling.
Yeah.
Montreal had a team. They're always come up kind of like Seattle Supersonics in basketball. They're like, oh, that's a team that can always have a team back. That was electric. But towards the end, they split half and half between their home games between Montreal and San Juan in Puerto Rico. We talk about Mexico. Mexico is always brought up. There's Mexico series. Yeah. Maybe that's not too far of a flight.
And those are electric. Those are electric.
So those are all cool spots. But our start bench cut is going to be U.S. cities of where would the team should go or would be the best thing. I will say, I don't know if I can be unbiased.
We're gonna agree. We're gonna agree.
We're gonna agree. Okay. So do we just want to start? We have three options, and it's always mentioned. It's not like we're just coming off of them, but it's Portland. It's Portland, Oregon. We got Charlotte, North Carolina, and Nashville, Tennessee. Right. So in the Southeast, we're in North Carolina. John and I. Our closest team is Atlanta Braves. About a 4-hour drive. Right. Too far. Tennessee would be about 3 hours anyway. So.
It would be so frustrating.
So I think
it would be so frustrating.
Yeah. So John and I are probably going to start Charlotte. I know I'm going to start Charlotte. I'll start with that. And I'll start Charlotte just because for a few reasons. Obviously, I'm biased.
Well, there's two reasons. Me and Yayo to start.
And there's so out of the three, Charlotte is the bigger city population wise. That's a point, right? That means something.
Great.
Thank you. In the Charlotte area, I guess they have like over 2.7 million residents compared to Portland's 2.5 and Nashville 1.3, not even close.
Yep.
So I think it would be nice. We've been to the AAA stadium, the Charlotte Knights. It's a good spot, very good AAA stadium with the skyline in the
Beautiful,
back
actually,
and everything.
yeah.
It's very good. I'm not even kidding. Look it up. I think it's Churchfield. They changed the
Yep.
name. So yeah, I'll go Charlotte. Another Southeast team. There's a big gap from Atlanta all the way to like Washington and Baltimore. There's nothing in between. Charlotte is there. We got MJ sold the team. Michael Jordan sold the Hornets. He got a few $1 billion. Bring a team here. He loves baseball. He retired. He retired from basketball to play baseball. Well, he sold the team. He's doing it. He's doing it.
He's doing it.
He's doing it.
MJ.
I just realized it.
MJ's bringing a team here.
He lives here. He has 2 houses in North Carolina.
Former professional baseball player.
Oh my God. It's happening. Well, congratulations to the Charlotte Brewers. Brewery life is growing a lot in Charlotte.
I have another point that can benefit us.
Okay, go. I like this.
It's not even just the Charlotte. I want them to be the Ducks. Charlotte Ducks. Don't ask me why I like the Mighty Ducks.
Quack,
Um,
quack,
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 quack.
quack.
Flying
I mean,
bee.
come on.
Yeah.
So we just brought an MLS team here, which I could care less about. But to make my argument, I will say the fan support has been terrific.
It really has.
Even with a bad team, like people show up.
Yes.
You can do like the Panthers did. And it's not necessarily the Charlotte Ducks. It can be the Carolina Ducks. You're getting North Carolina and South Carolina. Bring baseball here. This is a no-brainer. No-brainer.
First, not even close.
Season tickets, right? We're getting season tickets.
100%.
Yeah.
Oh
We're going to be the old guys in like 2070 when they interview us. John and Yayo been coming to these games for 40 years.
No, I will say, I don't think I mentioned this, but the lease for the Brewers ends in 2030. So, there's time. There's time. But we're voting for Charlotte.
I'm going to go protest in Milwaukee. Like, hell no, not our tax dollars. Just get them out of there.
Oh, I'm glad we can agree on that. Yes, bring them to Charlotte. Yeah. So who are you going to bench?
The other two are not even benched. They're both cut. Portland and Nashville. Nashville, because I think it's, truthfully, if I try and put a little bit of my biasness aside, I think it's either Nashville or Charlotte. I don't think it's going to be, I mean, you can't do both there, right? One of them is going to be that kind of mid-southern team. So I would bench Nashville I would cut Nashville and I would bench Portland.
Okay.
I would bench Portland. I think Portland's I think it's one of those, I don't know. I think they're good over there. I think they support the teams. I mean, I don't want them to get it, but
let's not get crazy.
Like Nashville would be a tease. It would be a tease. We're bringing a baseball team near you, 3 hours away. Like I can't do that.
I was actually. Oh wow. Okay, you convinced me. Okay, I agree. No, I think
that would be awful, dude. That would be horrific.
It's so close yet so far.
Yeah.
Yeah. No. Okay.
It'd be awful. Put them in Portland. I don't even have to think about them. I don't even have to think about it.
I'll even root against them every time.
Yeah. Yeah. 100%.
Okay.
Yeah, MJ's going to be our savior. He's bringing a team here.
We need MJ to go by a baseball team. We need baseball in North Carolina. In Carolina. Anyways, that will do it. Episode 25. Thank you so much for watching and listening, liking, subscribing, sharing, rating, commenting, all that good stuff. You want to walk us off, John? You got anything? I know you mentioned earlier kind of what you're looking for.
No, that's my big series that I'm looking for. Like I said, I don't think anything really changes going forward. I think the teams that are in now are in, but it'll be close. So now I'm like rooting for my picks. I'm rooting for everyone who's in the playoffs as of right now to hang on. Prove me right.
Okay. We'll see what happens. I am looking forward to see what's going to happen with the Marlins against a tough week of series, back-to-back Houston and Dodgers. I think that can tell us where they're going to end. And I want to see if Boston is still going to hang around. Like maybe.
I mean, that's your team.
Are they gonna keep giving me hope? That's what I want to see. And if they keep giving me hope, we'll be back next week anyways. It doesn't matter. It really doesn't affect me. It really doesn't affect me that much. Like, it's my team, but I don't take it that personally. Anyways, I don't hurt like
hell of a fan.
Like this guy.
Yeah, no, the Mets destroy me.
Yeah, you've been hurting for quite a bit. But again, thank you so much. Episode 25 over, done. We'll check it out in the next one.
Adios.